Hello. Hey. Hi, everyone. This is Dennis from Amazon Web Services. I'm a developer advocate, and I have two guests today from the CloudWatch team, Javier and Jared. Javier, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Javier Martin. I'm senior product manager in the CloudWatch team, and my background is in software engineering, but I have been focusing the product side of things already for the last few years.
Nice. And Jared, what about you?
Hey, my name's Jared Nance. I'm a software engineer on the CloudWatch team, and I've been with AWS for about 2.5 years. And I've spent my entire career in monitoring and building monitoring solutions.
Okay, so you're probably the right person to talk to today. So, everyone, we have a Twitter handle, AWS On Air. If you have any questions to me or to the guests on the show today, please tweet at us on at AWS On Air. I'm gonna have an eye on the Twitter while we talk. All right. Speaking of which, what are we going to talk about today?
So we are going to be talking about CloudWatch Lambda Insights, which is a new solution that we launched recently, and we will be describing a bit what it means and also showing a demo at the end about how the console experience looks like.
Lambda, so that's Lambda CloudWatch Insights. That's a tool for us to have insights into our Lambda functions, right?
Exactly. So customers choose to monitor and optimize Lambda functions, and for this they collect different metrics and logs data. Which is time consuming. So some customers even go and create their own custom-made dashboards in order to have access to visualize and surface this metric and log data. So what we are providing with CloudWatch Lambda Insights is a simplified version for collecting, troubleshooting, and combining those metrics and logs, and all of this in CloudWatch. So we are providing a set of curated performance metrics with observable context for each function. And also customers can monitor dependencies that are impacting health and availability for those functions.
Yeah, I can imagine. If you build one or two functions, that's not very much. But once you start building real applications with serverless functions, with Lambda functions, it can become quite complicated and tedious to really have insights. Are you able to aggregate the view for a whole application that consists of many different functions?
Exactly. So what happens today is customers have multiple functions across one AWS account. And then what we are doing is that we are kind of collecting all of this data and providing a single pane of glass with a set of automatic dashboards within CloudWatch. And this enables customers to have all the data they need in order to either optimize performance or troubleshoot issues that come from Lambda.
What kind of data is that? What kind of data can I look at?
So we are combining metrics, logs, and traces.
Okay, Jared, did you? It looked like you wanted to elaborate. That's your topic, right?
So we're taking metrics that you already have today from your Lambda functions, and we're giving you some new metrics, so you have new visibility into your function performance. But we also make it easy to get from those metrics into the logs and the traces for individual invocations.
Yeah, that's really great. What do you think? Why don't we have a look at the functionality? Because a picture is worth more than 1,000 words. Why don't you just walk us through let's say I'm a customer and I want to set that up. I want to enable my Lambda functions to use that functionality.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing we would do is go into the Lambda console and decide what function we want to enable in CloudWatch Lambda Insights. So here I'm visualizing the list of functions that I have in my account. And for example, let's pick the first one, which is called Event Writer. And then I will access to the detail page of this function. And if I scroll down in this page, then I will find an option that is called Monitoring Tools. And let me go down and get to that card. And here I have it. So Monitoring Tools, this is showing me the different monitoring options. And then the way I proceed is by clicking Edit. And then here we have added a new option in the bottom.
Yeah, this one probably is already enabled, but it looks really easy to just click down there.
Exactly.
Enhance monitoring.
Exactly. You just need to click the toggle in the CloudWatch Lambda Insights, and this is enabling this function to be monitored with CloudWatch.
Are there any roles to be set up? Is there anything in addition that's needed? Or is that just really setting this toggle?
This is all you need to do from the console. And what's happening on the back end is this is adding a policy to your role so that it can publish that data for you.
Okay, so it's the execution role that's been a policy is being added to the execution role that allows posting the information to CloudWatch Lambda Insights, right?
That's right.
Okay, that's cool. So everything's being done automatically in the back end. That's great. Okay, cool. And what does it look like?
Yeah, so it's important to add as well that customers can also enable Lambda Insights through CDK, CLI, CloudFormation, or SAM.
So it does have an API, of course, like everything. Yeah, that's great. Okay.
So once the function is enabled, then Lambda offers this monitoring tab in their console that provides a quick access to Lambda Insights. And then if we click there, we will go to the CloudWatch console. And in the CloudWatch console is where we will have all the rest of information from Lambda Insights. Mm-hmm. So what we are providing by default, so we have two different reports. The first one is called multifunction, which is providing an aggregated view across multiple functions. And then the second one is called single function, which provides a view for one single Lambda function. So let's take a look to the first one, to the multifunction overview. So here we can see that there is a set of automatic dashboards that is providing us a view on the performance and health of these functions. And in order to reduce the number of functions that we visualize in this page, then we have a filtering capability. So here we can filter by attribute, for example, function name, and also we could filter by tag. So in this case, I'm going to use the tag filter, and I will select CloudFormation stack name, and then I will go for SAM app, which is going to show me all the functions that are deployed through SAM CloudFormation. Mm-hmm. So now I see that there are two functions that are being displayed under this criteria. And something that I can quickly take a look is, for example, function cost. So this graph is very interesting if you are trying to balance performance with cost. So this is showing the direct cost of this function in terms of megabytes millisecond, which is the way how Lambda computes the charge for function invocation. Mm-hmm. And this could also help us to identify what functions could be good candidates for cost savings. If we scroll down into this report, we have another table that is called function summary. And here we see the list of functions that we have previously filtered. And here we have system level metrics, like for example, there is CPU time, we have memory percentage, we have call starts. And something we could do here is, for example, select one function and then go into logs. So we have direct access to CloudWatch performance logs and application logs. So application logs are the logs that functions send to CloudWatch, and all of those are in different log groups per function. Mm-hmm. And then we have performance logs that are the new logs that we are sending now through Lambda Insights, which we have one log group for all the functions, and then we can run queries across all of these functions. Mm-hmm. So this is powered by Logs Insights, which is the log analytics tool of CloudWatch.
So all these logs are available for me as a customer. I can go in there and I can look at them, but I can also have my tools, either my CloudWatch tools or my third-party tools, analyze the logs, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So something that we could identify here is, for example, call starts. So we see that there is a number of call starts for this function, and we want to investigate what has happened here. So what we would do next here is go and access to this specific function by clicking on the name, and this would take us to the second report, which is the single function overview. So let me click there, and then this is taking me to the single function report.
That means we had before, when we looked at the CloudWatch Insights, we saw the multifunction button and the single function button. So we went into the multifunction first to see our application basically filter down, and then we found a function that might have issues, might have performance issues, too many cold starts, and that's where we then are able to directly go into that function and then drill down to really troubleshoot and figure out what happened, right?
Exactly, that's what we are doing. And so once we are in the single function, obviously we could either navigate back to the multifunction report, or we could go into another function from the ones I have enabled in my account. So something that we can quickly identify in the single function is that the number of errors for this specific function is very high compared to the number of invocations. So this could already give us some hint that the errors are being, the call starts are being caused by these errors. So the next thing we want to understand is why we are having errors. And for this, what we can do is we can go to the bottom of this page, and then we have a direct access to the most recent 1,000 invocations for this specific function. So here, again, we can sort by any of the columns that we are visualizing. We have access to certain performance metrics, and there is the init duration, which is giving us time about the call start. So if we sort by this column, then we can identify which is the invocation that has the highest init duration in milliseconds. And then things we could do here is, for example, select this invocation and again, drill down into logs. So we could query performance and application logs in order to try to understand what has happened here. Or we could also zoom out and go to service lens using tracing and see how this trace goes across multiple services. And for example, let's go and do that. So in this case, let's go and click view for this specific invocation. And this is going to take us to service lens. And then we will have a map view. Where we could quickly see that there is an error in this node. And then by selecting the node, we could scroll down and get more details about what is the specific error for this function.
I can
invocation.
See error, yeah.
And then if we go to the exception part, then we can see that actually what happened here is that this request was throttled.
Oh, okay.
So this is giving us all the information we need in order to take actions and solve this problem.
And underneath, I already also see the stack trace. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Can you scroll up real quick to the in this just to the visualization, all the way up? Just for everyone on the stream who's not aware, who's not familiar with X-ray or the functionality that we have here, you not only see the Lambda function itself, but its surroundings, the Lambda context. Then on the other side, we have an SQSQ on the right upper hand side. I can't see what it's in the bottom. What is that? A little down. Oh, it's another SQSQ. So that is really interesting. This kind of view is really interesting because you really can see the complete flow of the application, of the specific message or what happened. You don't only look into the Lambda function. And on the other hand, using the logs, for instance, you can really drill down into the logs of the actual function execution. And I think that's really helpful. That looks really nice. Thanks for that. So, Jared, why don't you talk a little bit about how, I mean, there's a lot of metrics that have to be ingested. There's a lot of information that needs to be visualized in a meaningful way, because having all this data doesn't help if you're not able to put it into context. And that's what the functionality does. I think it's really great to see how the functions play together, how certain metrics and data points about the functions play together. But what does it look like under the hood? Because you have to collect that somewhere. It needs to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Lambda Insights is enabled through a Lambda extension that was built by CloudWatch. So Lambda extensions is a new feature from Lambda that makes it easy to add plugins to your function without having to change your function code. Extensions are deployed as Lambda layers. So when you install Lambda Insights, you're adding a Lambda layer to your function. Lambda starts our extension as part of the initialization process, and it runs out of process in the same Lambda execution environment as your function code. It uses the Lambda extensions API to participate in the function invoke lifecycle. So when your function gets invoked, our extension begins collecting metrics over the invoke period. And when your function completes, the Lambda execution environment gets frozen. On the next invocation, we flush the metrics for the previous invoke. And if there's no other invoke of the execution environment, metrics will be flushed when the environment is shut down. During this period, our extension is collecting really two different types of metrics. There's kernel metrics, which, and all of these metrics are new, that customers don't have access to previously. And these include things like CPU time, network utilization, file system usage, file descriptors, thread counts. And then there's the second type of metrics we're collecting are Lambda service metrics. And these include things like memory usage, initialization duration, your build duration. And you're probably already familiar with these metrics from the report events that you can find in your Lambda application logs. All of the metrics and the metadata for each invocation gets serialized into a single JSON object and written to the CloudWatch Logs Lambda Insights log group.
That means I can actually have a look at that JSON object, right?
That's right. So the event is serialized in the embedded metrics format, which allows us to co-locate the metrics and the high cardinality data. And you can go into CloudWatch Logs Insights, and you can run ad hoc queries on this data yourself using Logs Insights or any other tools that you want to, since it's available in CloudWatch Logs. And this allows you to slice and dice on arbitrary dimensions. Also, all of the logs from all of your functions are written to the same log group, so you'll be able to compare functions against each other.
Okay, sounds interesting. The thing is, I mean, for most customers, the most important thing probably is it available? When is it available? As far as I know, it has been made available already. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So it's already, we launched GA already. It's available in all commercial regions. So you can start using it now.
Yeah, that's great. So, and I have up here, let me put that up. There's a blog post on the AWS News blog using Amazon CloudWatch Lambda Insights to improve operational visibility, where a colleague of ours really goes into how to set that up, how to use that. And here you've got a bit.ly shortcode and a QR code. If you want to have a look into that feature. Maybe the last important question for many of our customers is, what's the cost structure of this feature?
Yeah, great question. So as always, there's no upfront cost. And there's no cost if it's not used. So you pay for what you use, and it has the same dimensions of cost as the embedded metrics format, if you're already familiar with that, which includes log ingestion, storage, and the time series aggregated metrics.
So if I have no function invocations, if it doesn't produce any data points, there's no cost associated. That's
exactly.
Great. That's great. That helps me. That helps really to figure out what my application costs, depending on how many invocations I have, depending on how many users I have, and that really plays into the cloud model, into the pay as you go and pay what you use model. In terms of, I don't really have to set up a lot of things and invest a lot upfront. I really have them, not only the functionality in place, like the Lambda functions, but also the monitoring, the observability. And don't have to invest in that as well, as long as I don't really need it. And once I need it, great. Then my business model obviously works. All right, we are already pretty far. I think we're gonna wrap it up. It's been a crazy reInvent. It's the third week now. We're almost done. It's 3 weeks. Everything's been different this year, but at the same time, it's been really great because everybody was able to watch the sessions, watch the keynotes. From home, from your living room, which is really great, or here my it's not really a living room anymore after 3 weeks of reInvent. There's lots of empty bottles and things over here. So was there anything, Javier, was there anything that you really enjoyed during this reInvent? Any particular session or release?
As you mentioned, I think it was great that we had the option to join virtually this reInvent and be able to access all these sessions from our living room. So that was actually very convenient. And I typically enjoy the keynotes. I think that, for example, the one from INDJC is very inspiring in general.
Yeah. What about you, Jared? Anything that you liked?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of awesome stuff released this year. Of course, Lambda launched support for extensions, container images, and 1 millisecond billing. There was also the AWS distro for OpenTelemetry. So it's really cool to see how AWS is participating and supporting the open source community and open standards. Beyond Lambda and the observability space, I think VPC reachability analyzer is amazing. And S3 read after write consistency was, I think those are the things that really kind of blew my mind this year.
Yeah, the whole provable security thing and everything. That's really great. I really enjoyed that. And I'm looking forward to what's going to happen in that space as well. Anyway, Javier, Jared, thank you so much for being on the show. To our viewers, thank you for being here. It was great again. I will have another show in 1.5 minutes, 1.5 hours, in 1.5 hours if you wanna tune in. But at the same time, we have other shows coming up right after this one. Thank you, everyone. Please enjoy the rest of reInvent and then enjoy the holidays. Okay? Take care. Thanks. Goodbye.
Thank you.